We get some calls about this pretty often, and
We do.
You said you were seeing it in your yard.
We do. You know, people calling in and say we've got limbs, just little bitty short limbs that looks like they're chewed off.
Yeah, chewed off.
Kind of a pattern where they're all about the same size, about the
Right.
same length.
I see something like this.
Yep, and there it is. So these are kind of a fun insect that's causing this. These are twig girdlers. Pretty neat life cycle. They have 1 year life cycle, so they complete their life cycle in
Right.
1 year.
Right.
And basically, what they're doing, they this time of year they're chewing the end of this limb. To allow that to fall off with their eggs, so it's kind of a neat little life cycle that this twig girdler has.
Well, and this picture it's kind of large. It looks, but that's like about a half an inch.
Yeah,
about a half an inch long, and it's got those antennae that are at least as long as its body, maybe even a little longer. But it's the females that are doing this, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of like a mole and a gopher. You won't ever see the adults. You'll
Right.
see the damage,
Right.
and you'll see those limbs on the ground. But ever so often, you'll see an insect on that tree that looks similar to that.
Right.
You know, like you said, about a half inch to 3/4, maybe an inch. It's a longhorn beetle, is what the family that longhorn beetle is. But what happens? This is the female she's got eggs that's fertilized by the male. And so she's making a nest essentially
Right.
for those eggs to hatch and then continue her life, continue the population essentially.
Right. Well, and this is a close up of those, and you can see these little slits in there, right? That she actually digs those little slits and plants the eggs in those slits.
She does. So she'll find the size of that limb she likes, and then she'll go and make those cuts, make those slits, and deposit a few eggs in each one of those
Right.
those slits, and those eggs will just kind of sit there dormant for a while until they're ready to continue that life cycle. But what happens? She chews.
Right.
Chews and leaves that center where it's just kind of dangling, just kind of hanging there, and we get some good Oklahoma winds, and
We get that.
it'll blow those off. It'll snap that off, blow them away,
Right.
spreading her babies, spreading her eggs that way to continue that life cycle.
Right.
So,
And so each one of these might have 8, 10 different eggs in it, but over the lifespan, she could deposit 200 eggs.
up to 100 to 200 eggs.
Right. So that's going to be a big population.
That's right.
Growth
That's
from
right.
this one mama.
So this will happen. You'll see these on the ground. That clean cut. That's where people they think it's a squirrel or something.
Well, it's very precise.
Yep. Very, very
Very
perfect.
precise.
And they're all about the size of your pinky.
Yeah.
Is about the size those limbs are. But so they'll fall off. We'll take them away, or the wind will blow them, and they'll overwinter. They'll hatch as a larvae. Egg larvae,
Right.
And so they'll hatch and they'll just kind of feed a little bit, and then they'll go dormant, and then they'll just sit there all winter until they start pupating around late summer.
Well, and here's a shot of them
Yep.
chewing out the inside of the twig there. That's the food that they're surviving
That
on,
they're-
growing
yep.
on until they become full-fledged.
This is the larvae where it's feeding. It'll turn from that larvae to a pupa,
Right.
kind of just go dormant for about 2 weeks, and then it'll emerge out of that pupa as an adult, ready to start this over again. So yep.
So lather, rinse, repeat.
That's it. That's
Basically,
all. That's what it does. So,
That's what it does.
control measures. The
Right.
controls. It's hard to spray an insecticide for these guys.
Well, and trees are huge.
They're big. You got to
Right.
get it all the way up in there, and they're flying from neighbors' trees to your trees to everything else. So I don't think an insecticide is justifiable at this point. But the main thing is once they fall off, get those limbs, get those debris out of there. Whether you throw them in the trash, you could chip them up and put them in your compost bin if your compost bin gets hot enough.
If you do a good job of composting.
Yeah. But the main thing is gather them up, get them away, and that will, in theory, decrease that population next year. Now, in practice, they're going to be flying everywhere from neighbors'
Right.
trees to your trees to forested areas, so they're around. But that'll at least help decrease the population by getting those debris and limbs out of the way.
Well, and ultimately, it's not necessarily a fatal blow
No.
to your tree if you've got a good, healthy tree. But over time, like each mama lays 200 eggs, 200, it
200,
increases a
200,
lot.
yeah.
And so if you don't, dispose of that debris,
Yeah.
you're going to have
A bigger population.
You're going to have a bigger population,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
probably going to make your tree unsightly, and maybe long term diminish its ability. but
Somewhat.
still.
I mean, the good thing is they're only getting the small tips of
Right.
the limbs, and they're able to survive that pretty well,
Right.
especially on mature trees. Notice them on elms a lot.
Right.
That's what mine was, an elm, and again, I have about 20 of those, and I'm pretty lazy. I don't go in and clean them up. I'll just mow them and go on.
I'll chop them up.
Yeah, but we have seen, in my opinion, the population. We've seen them become more and more of an issue the last few years
Right.
for some reason.
Right. Well, it's always interesting to me because people will come in with like a twig into the diagnostic center, and it's perfectly sawed
It's-
off.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and the question is, what in the world is doing this to my twigs?
And you would never think it was an insect. You'd think a squirrel or a rodent or a mouse or
right,
something.
not this
but
little bitty insect was sawing off those limbs, but it's pretty amazing little creature. But essentially, it's not a fatal blow to your
Yeah.
tree. Do some lawn maintenance.
Yeah.
Pick up those twigs and throw them away, and you can
that's
keep
it.
a handle.
That's
of
it. It's just kind of a neat coffee shop type insect to look at. So it's kind of fun.
Right.
Yep,
And
yep.
if somebody shows you something like that, you'll go, twig girdler.
Twig girdler.
You'll
Yep,
be
yep.
the expert in the neighborhood.
That's right. So that's our pest of the week there.